It has been an amazing month so far for the US dollar. If you watch my videos, you'll remember I called your attention to this bullish dollar 2 weeks ago, as you can see here. If you've not watched that video, you can go back and watch that video. And ever since, dollar has been so bullish in the markets. That is, if you're a trader, you should know this, right? We will be starting a new month next week. That simply means next week is NFP week. As we all know, NFP takes place every first Friday of every new month. Let's quickly take a look at the fundamentals we have lined up for next week. So next week on Monday, the 29th of May, you see we have bank holidays on CHF, GBP, Euro, USD and all of that. So next week, I'll be expecting retracements on dollar pairs because price has been moving in the direction of the US dollar. So I'll be expecting pullbacks. Then Tuesday, there's no major news. If you want to, on Forex Factory, if you want to know which news is the major news, you see them painted in red, all right? So on Tuesday, the 30th of May, the only red news we have is on the USD, which is the consumer confidence, okay? Then on Wednesday, the 31st of May, which happens to be the last day of May, we have an important news on AUD where there will be a speech given. Then there's another major news on AUD, which is the consumer price index, the CPI. And then we also have a major news on Euro, all right? The German prelims CPI. This takes place, this is going to be happening all day, all right? Then we also have the Canadian GDP, the gross domestic product. We also have job openings on the US dollar on that same Wednesday, all right? On Thursday, there are no major news events except for the dollar, which is the non-farm employment change and the unemployment claims. These are very, very major moves that we move the market. So remember I said we are going to see pullbacks on dollar pairs. So we may start seeing price move starting from on Thursday and definitely on Friday, which is the non-farm payroll. All right. So I'll most likely be expecting a slow move in the market, especially on the dollar pairs for the early part of next week. Then towards Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that is when the big move is going to happen. That's just my personal opinion, though I'm speaking from experience. So now that we've seen what is happening on the fundamentals, we already know that the major volatility is going to happen on Thursday and Friday. So we want to bear that in mind when we go back to our charts and look for trading opportunities. I'm going to be starting today's analysis with the JPY index, okay? So I'm going to be ending with dollar pairs. So make sure you watch this video to the end so that you don't miss my analysis on the dollar pairs, all right? So on JPY index, is clear, price is downward. This is the monthly time frame. Price is creating lower lows and lower highs. And if you remember, when we started this month, remember this is the monthly time frame. So each of these candlesticks represents 1 month of price action, right? Last month, I called your attention to the fact that I would expect JPY index to keep collapsing. And what does that mean? If JPY pair is weak, that means other pairs paired against the JPY is going to be stronger, right? And if JPY pair is bullish, of course, JPY is going to dominate across JPY pairs. I hope you get the point now. So if we go to the weekly time frame, I also called your attention when price was trading around this particular candlestick. If you go back to like 3 to 4 weeks video that I released, our normal weekly analysis, I talked about price pulling back before dropping. If you think I'm lying, go and watch my videos, all right? It's there. The numbers don't lie. So I called your attention to the fact that we've printed a double top on this particular index, which is the JPY index. And I'll be expecting price to stall around here for a bit, that we could see a pullback before we finally keep dropping to this zone. And that is exactly what has happened. You can see price is dropping seriously. So I'll be expecting JPY index to collapse all the way to this zone. Now that we've seen that JPY is collapsing to the downside, we can go look at some JPY pairs. But before we do that, let's quickly look at the daily time frame. Daily time frame is also pointing lower. We're creating lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower low, right? Then let's see if there's anything on the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, guys, before I continue, remember I don't trade the JPY index. I only look at the JPY index to gauge the strength of JPY. So I can now go to the JPY pairs and place a trade accordingly. I hope you get the point. So now if you look at this 4-hour time frame, price has broken below this zone. And of course, from the weekly and the monthly time frame, we already know price is pushing all the way to the downside, at least up until we get to around this point. So you see it is still a long way to the downside between this zone to this zone. So there's a lot of money to be made. All right. So, but short term, next week, the first couple of days, I'll be expecting price to give us a pullback. Okay. So I'll be expecting a pullback into this zone. And what happens next? I'll be expecting a sell-off from that zone. All right. So that's what I'll be expecting for next week. A pullback into this zone, then a sell-off. So if we are going to see this pullback, what is going to happen on some of the JPY pairs? Let's start with USDJPY. Let's start with USDJPY. Let's start from the weekly time frame. We already know the monthly time frame is bullish. Or let's just look at it for the sake of that. If you remember, last 3 months or last 4 months, I talked about how I was expecting price to keep pushing higher to the upside after creating this inverse head and shoulders pattern. So blasted above, came back to retest the neckline, and ever since price has been pushing higher. Now on the weekly time frame, as you can see, price created a lower low. So I was expecting price to create a lower high and come back and create a new lower low, but price had other plans. You know, we cannot be 100% certain of what price wanted to. I was actually expecting price to drop to this zone, probably give us a double bottom before blasting to the upside. But as you can see, instead it gave us a higher low, then went back and created a new higher high, taking out this particular zone here. So this is a new higher high. So remember in the JPY index, I talked about how I was expecting a pullback, right? Now let's go to the lower time frames to see where this pullback should come into. This is the 4-hour time frame, by the way. On the 4-hour time frame, I remember sending out this chart when price was trading around here. I sent out this chart on the Telegram channel. This is the evidence on your screen. I sent out this chart how I was expecting price to give us a retest and push up to the upside with this level, which is 142.130 as my overall, as my initial target. Let me put it that way, as my initial target. And as you can see, that was exactly what price is. Price broke above, retested, and since then it has been pushing higher. So I'm expecting price to come into this zone. But does that mean we are just going to keep pushing until we get into that zone? In most cases, that's not always the case. So because of that, I've come to the 1-hour time frame to look for zones where I'll be expecting price to pull back into. And this is the zone I can find at this point. This trend line, you can see labeled first, captured that zone, then came into this zone, captured here as my second touch. And ever since price blasted above. So I'll be expecting for price to come back into this trend line to give us a third touch before we push higher into 142.130. So for next week, overall, I am still bullish on USDJPY. However, the early part of next week, I'll be expecting a retracement, a pullback into this zone. All right. Then from this zone, I can now join the league of buyers to buy all the way to the upside. So USDJPY for next week, I am bullish. However, I'm expecting some kind of pullback, like I said. Now that we've seen what is happening on USDJPY, let's look at GBPJPY. GBPJPY on the daily time frame, price is shooting higher. Let's start from the monthly time frame as usual. On the monthly time frame, price is pushing higher. And on the bigger picture, guys, I see price coming into this level here. All right. And that's a massive move to the upside, right? If we take out this level, then this the level I'll be expecting price to come into. Why? Because price has used this zone as a level of support previously and this zone as a level of resistance previously. So if price breaches this zone, then this is my initial target. All right. But for now, I think this looks like a good supply zone here. So I would like to see how price reacts when we get there. But what I'm trying to say is between this zone where price is at the moment to this zone, there's still a good bullish opportunity where we can make money. All right. So let's look out for continuous bullish push to the upside on GBPJPY. But let's narrow things down to the smaller time frames, down to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, pretty much looks like the monthly time frame. We've created a new higher high, taking out this high. And even before that, we've been creating higher lows, right? Higher high, breaking above this high, then a new higher high, breaking above this one. And now I've created a new one, taking out this previous two, right? So I'll expect price to keep pushing to the upside. Now let's go down to the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, the daily time frame looks pretty much like the weekly time frame. Let's go to the lower time frame where we get to find trading opportunities. I remembered we held a live session during the week, all right? That was on Thursday, yes. And I got requests from some of the guys that were on the live call that as you look at GBP JPY, they requested other JPY pairs, but I saw that JPY was trading sideways. It was ranging heavily. So, but for those that were on the call, you remember that I plotted this trend line. I plotted this trend line like so, and I also plotted this resistance level above, where I said, you guys should not hesitate. If we break above this resistance, just buy. No need to wait for any retest. If we break, buy. Then I also said, if we break below this trend line, just sell. No questions asked, just sell. Okay. And why was I looking at these two possibilities? If we go back to the weekly time frame, you will discover that there's a line here. There's a strong resistance here. If I even go further left, you can see that price has used that zone as an area of resistance and support before. So you can see price rejected here previously, and it looked like price was going to reject here again. So when price was finding it difficult breaking above here, if we go back to the 1 hour time frame, so that was why I felt if price is committed to going downward, then I would like to see it break out of this range, take out this trend line, and start pushing lower. But if we take out this resistance, that means we must have taken out that line from the weekly time frame, right? And now that was exactly what happened. If you had followed my instruction, you will be in profit right now, okay? But for next week, the early part of next week, remember we have bank holidays on Monday when we're looking at the fundamentals and all of those good stuff. So for the early part of next week, probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be expecting a pullback into this zone, all right? So that we can keep going higher. But I would actually prefer pullback into this trend line, actually, all right? So that's what I'll be expecting. I'll actually expect a pullback into these two zones, either into this broken resistance turn support or back into this trend line right below that support. All right. So, and like I said, in most cases, through my experience, I've discovered that when there's a trend line right below a support or resistance, price always likes to find its way into that trend line. So I would like to just see if price pulls back into this zone and I start seeing bullish pressure, I'll execute here. The only difference is I'm going to use a wide stop loss. My stop loss will be way below this trend line in case price wants to come into this trend line. But if I'm patient enough and maybe I didn't see any confirmation here, then price falls into this trend line and I see bullish confirmation, then I'll start looking for buys at this trend line with a tighter stop loss. So I hope you get the whole idea. So for next week, I'm still bullish overall, but I'll be expecting a pullback so that we can now join this trade. All right. So that being said, those are the two JPY pairs I'm interested in at the moment. Let's go over to the US dollar. But before I go over to the US dollar, guys, if you're watching this video and you are yet to subscribe to our channel, guys, do us a favor, please. Smash that subscribe button, like this video, share this video, and also turn on that notification bell so that when next we post a new video, you'll be the first to be notified. All right. So now that being said, let's look at the dollar index. Let's start with the monthly time frame. Now, this is the monthly time frame. If you remember, like a couple of months ago, like 4 months ago, I was wondering, why are we seeing bearish moves in the market? Because if you look at it, dollar is overall bullish. Overall, dollar is bullish, creating higher highs and higher lows on the monthly time frame. Then, of course, you also remember October, towards the ending of October last year, where I started calling dollar short from here. Many people criticized me. Many people came to my DMs and they were like, guy, why are you selling in a bullish market? Why are you selling? I have a lot of people that came and were bombarding me with stuff like that. But what they don't know is, with experience and the proper trading skill, you could tell where price is going to most likely react to and give you a pullback that you can benefit from, execute, and make profit. So it's not about what you think you know. It's not about what you think you know. Your trading style is different from my trading style. And if you are a follower of this channel, you could tell how accurate I am in my analysis. So I think I usually, those criticism has reduced drastically because I've been able to prove so many people wrong over time. All right. But back to the analysis. So if you remember, I started calling short from here, and some of my followers that have been following me from day one, I also had, I got some feedback from you where you went to other channels and you posted your chart and people were like, are you crazy? Right. And you started even doubting yourself at some point. Anyways, you are in the right place. Let's Trade Academy, where I get to tell you what exactly you should be expecting in the market. And more often than not, I am correct. This is not bragging. Anyways, that's just a little bragging out there. But it's fine. I need to hype myself up if no one hypes me, right? Anyways, so now when we came back into this zone, price started, we closed with this bullish engulfing candle. And if you watch that video for that particular month, I said I'll be expecting a continuous bullish push, but price had other plans. We started selling again. I was wondering what exactly is going on. This goes against technical analysis, but of course it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Sometimes price will still just take its time before it starts moving in your direction. So as you can see, we now had 2 months of bearish price action. Well, of course we made money from this bearish push, but now it looks like we want to go back and align ourselves with that original trend, which is bullish, right? And as you can see, this is the monthly time frame. You can see from the size of this candlestick that we are going to close this month with a strong note. All right, so for next month I will expect continuous bullish price action on the US dollar. So if we come to the weekly time frame, you can see that we created a higher low here, and it looks like price is trading around this zone. Eventually I'll be expecting price to create a new higher high. But remember, we have bank holidays. When we talked about the fundamental, we have bank holidays on Monday, Tuesday, we have bank holidays on Monday. Then I also said that I'll be expecting pullbacks during the initial few days of next week. So if we go to a daily time frame, I'll show you why I strongly think we may see that initial pullback. Now, this is the daily time frame. Guys, I'm taking my time to analyze the dollar index. It's very, very important because whatever happens on the dollar index is going to reflect across the dollar pairs. All right. So it is important when dollar index is bullish, expect a strong dollar across the dollar pairs. And when dollar index is bearish, expect a weak dollar across the dollar pairs. So anything I analyze here, just apply it to your dollar pairs. All right. I hope you get the point. Just apply it to your dollar pairs because that's exactly what is going to happen. Now we are trading at a strong resistance zone on the daily time frame. If you can't see why this is a strong resistance zone, I will show you. As you can see, price reacted to this zone before pushing price higher. Also reacted to this zone before when it came back, pushing price higher. Then after breaking below, what did you notice? It came back to that zone to give it a retest, then bounced off, then came back again to that zone to give it another retest, as you can see, before bouncing off like this. And when price came back to that zone again, what did you notice? There was a rejection, all right, before blasting higher. Then when price blasted higher, it came back below. Now we are back to that level. So should we be expecting a reaction? Definitely. And that is why you can see we created a dodgy candlestick at that level. So what will I be expecting next week? Does that mean we are going bearish next week? Definitely not. I'm not expecting complete bearish reversal on the USD, on the dollar index as I speak at the moment. Understood? But for next week, I'll be expecting that early pullback, maybe something like 2 days of bearish reversal before we go bullish and break above that zone. Why do I think we are going to break above that zone? It's simple, simply because we can see how the monthly candlestick is closing. We can see how we closed with the weekly candle, but coming to the daily candle, we can see we are trading at a resistance. So I'll just be expecting a mini pullback before we eventually come back and break below that zone. So if we are going to go lower, which zone should we be looking at? Anyways, I'll be looking at 2 zones for selling possibility. Let me even use the 1 hour time frame. Let's keep the 4 hours. So as you can see, this is that resistance from the daily time frame. So now I'll be expecting 2 things next week. We could come into this zone, get a touch to this trend line and blast higher to continue the bullish trend. We could see this happen. But guys, if I see this happen, of course, you should wait for confirmation, right? You want to wait for confirmation before you execute. But guys, if we now break below this trend line, then guys, I know that we are in full pullback before we now push back higher. I hope you get the point. So this counter trend line will be my cue to join the pullback, to benefit from that pullback. So if we take out this trend line, I'll go to the dollar pairs and look for, like Euro USD, for instance, I'll look for buys. GBP USD, I'll look for buys just to catch that small pullback, that little pullback, guys. Don't forget. And how do you even trade the pullback? Once price moves in your favor, don't wait for, just once it moves in your favor, let's say, okay, you execute on the 1 hour time frame, then wait for the next 1 hour time frame to close in the direction where you executed, whether buy or sell. Now, what do you do next? Just break even. So even if price comes back and wants to continue the initial trend, it will stop you out in break even. That is how I trade it, and that is how it works for me. So if we break below this trend line, that's my cue that, okay, we are going to make that deep pullback like we've seen on the daily time frame. But we may also come into this trend line and bounce off it and keep pushing higher, which is what may most likely happen. All right. Anyhow it is, definitely just be rest assured that I'm going to come live on Tuesday. We are going to hold the live update on Tuesday where we get to look at where price is currently and what we should be expecting going forward. Now that we've seen what is happening on the dollar index, let's go to AUDUSD. AUDUSD, I've been calling AUDUSD bearish, and I told you in last week's video that I was holding a trade. If you remember, or if you've forgotten, go back. The video is timestamped, so you could easily jump to the AUDUSD analysis. So I said I am holding a trade. But guys, I am so pained and angry right now. I won't even lie to you. I'm so pained and angry because I closed way too early. I should have held. I will show you why I closed way too early. But before I do that, let me just quickly show you. Let me quickly analyze this monthly time frame for you to see. Overall, I'll be expecting price to come all the way down to this zone on the monthly time frame. Let's calculate how many pips that is. Let's see, price is trading around here. So this zone, that's about 364 pip move to the downside. So I'm expecting AUDUSD to collapse to this zone. All right. So I'm just going to drop this here. Let's go to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, you can see that this zone has held for quite some time. I mean, if you are not seeing the zone I'm talking about, I'll show you. You don't have to worry. This zone pushed price higher, came back, retested that zone, pushed price higher, came back again around this zone, rejected that zone, pushed price higher, and now we've broken below that zone. And it does look like we are going all the way to the downside. So now that we've taken out this zone, I'll be expecting price to keep pushing all the way to this zone as our first level target. If you take this one out, then this would be the second target. But for now, let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Let's look at this zone. Now let's go to the daily time frame on AUDUSD. AUDUSD, on the daily time frame, you can see where I mapped when I was highlighting the strength of this zone, right? In the previous time frame, which is the weekly time frame. I talked about how price came here, rejected here previously, rejected here, and now we've broken below there. So what should we be expecting for next week? I'll be expecting a pullback into that zone. Then if we get that pullback at this zone, I'll be expecting to sell and then maybe hold again all the way to the downside. I hope you get the point. So that's what I'm looking at on AUDUSD come next week. Now, but before I go, let me make that place a zone. Let me make it a zone. Let me put this here. You remember, you want to capture as many touches as possible. I'll put this here. All right. Let me just capture here. I've captured this week. I've captured here. I've captured here. So next week, I'll be expecting price to come inside of this zone before we start selling again. I mean, you can even see the sign. As you can see how we'll close for Friday. We'll close to the bullish candlestick. So I'll be expecting that movement to the upside. But let's go to the forward time frame so that we can see things more clearly. So on the forward time frame, it's still similar to the weekly time frame. In fact, let's go to the 1 hour so that I can do this the right way. Let's go to the 1 hour. On the 1 hour, guys, I will have to refine this zone, guys. I will have to refine it. I'll have to refine this zone on the 1 hour. I'm going to bring this here. This is what I'm doing. Or let me just plot a fresh one on the 1 hour. How about that? Let me limit this to just the daily time frame. So let me plot a fresh one on 1 hour. Or let me plot a fresh one on 4 hours. Let me use 4 hours, guys. Capture from here. Capture from here to here. Okay, so now if we go back to the 1 hour, you can see things clearly good. So this is what I'll be expecting next week. I'll be expecting for price to, I would like to see price pull back into this zone. it will give me a very good opportunity to sell off, all right, on AUDUSD. To give me a very good opportunity. And I see that possibility of price coming back into that zone, or at least close happening. If I draw my Fibonacci retracement level, you can see that that particular zone aligns with the 0.5 fib level. So guys, I'll be expecting a pullback into this zone next week. I'll be expecting a pullback into this zone. I could even trade the counter trend into this zone. I'll look for opportunities. I'll call the trade on the Telegram channel. So if you're not in on the Telegram channel, the link is going to be in the description below. Just go click it and subscribe. All right. Now, that said, let's look at NZDUSD. NZDUSD looks pretty much like AUDUSD. If we go to the monthly time frame, you can see we are closing the monthly time frame with a statement candle. All right. So I'll be expecting price to keep pushing all the way down to this zone. Actually, I'll be expecting price to push all the way down to this zone. But let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Let's not jump the gun. I'm going to be looking at how price react to this zone first. So if we break below this zone, then we are definitely coming into this zone. All right. Why am I looking at this zone as a threat? I'm looking at that zone as a threat because price has used that zone multiple times historically. Okay. So I'll be expecting another touch here. So if we don't bounce off from that zone, then I'll be expecting price to come into this level here. All right. So that's why I have that black line there, this particular black line. So when price gets there, I want to see how price react. But till we get there, I am bearish. Now, if we go to the weekly time frame, you can see this massive, massive bearish candle. So like I said, next week, I will expect continuous drop. However, I will expect an initial drop pullback before we drop. All right. So let's go to the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, similar to the AUDUSD, price has taken out this particular zone. So I will most likely be expecting a pullback, even if price drops a little before we get the pullback. However, I'll be expecting a pullback into this zone before we drop. Let me go to the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, let me see, is there any level of structure I could capture? Okay, there's a level of structure here that I can capture. I'll just plot this to this zone, then still extend it to the right. It looks like price has retested that zone, right? But I'll still like to see a pullback next week. Maybe probably give us a double top here, right? Maybe probably give us a double top here, right? For us to sell to the downside. All right, let's see how that play out for next week. But I'll be expecting a pullback. All right. Now, I'm not clear about the pullback on NZDUSD, but I'll be giving you updates. But for AUDUSD and the other pairs, I'm actually looking at those pullbacks. I'm absolutely confident about those pullbacks. All right. Now, gold. This will be the last index I'll be looking at for this week. If I look at gold from the monthly time frame, you can see how it looks like we are closing the month, guys. A wick to the upside, an engulfing candle to the downside. And if you look at this zone has proven itself to be a strong zone. Look at this rejection here, this rejection here, this rejection here. So, and if we close like this, guys, because each of the times our price came into that zone, we sold off. We came back into that zone, we sold off. Now we are back into that zone. I will consider this a triple top. If we close this month with this bearish candle, I'll consider this a triple top. Now, I'm not saying we are now going to sell all the way down. All right. I'm not saying we're going to sell all the way down to this trend line. I'm not saying that yet. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. So let's still take it one step at a time. Next month, I'll be expecting another bearish part candlestick close. So if next month we are going to close with a bearish candlestick close, then of course on the lower time frames we'll be selling, right? Now let's go to the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, we are sitting on this trend line. Just like I told you from last week's video, I told you I'll be expecting price to drop into this trend line and into this zone. So as you can see, we are sitting on this zone. So two things can still happen regardless of what I said from the monthly time frame. Price could bounce off this trend line and keep going higher. It is possible. But guys, if we break below this trend line, that is your cue. Because we've closed last month with such a huge bearish candle, then if we can take out this weekly trend line, guys, we are coming into this zone next. Guaranteed. Because if we can break below this trend line, then I can't see anything holding price or stopping price from dropping to this zone. So that is my bias from the higher time frame perspective. If we go to the daily, you can see clearly how price is sitting on that trend line. You can see how price is sitting comfortably on that trend line. And you see how we closed Friday. So like I'm expecting pullbacks on the dollar pairs. I'm also expecting initial pullbacks on gold. So for gold, I'll be expecting a little pullback to the upside before we finally come and break below here. But if we fail to break below here, guys, we are going higher. Now, let me paint two scenarios going forward. I'm just going to delete these guys. So what's going to happen? Below this trend line, I am still a seller. And of course, below this trend line also, I'm still a full seller, a confident seller for that matter. So what I'll be expecting next week to happen, I'll be expecting price to come into this trend line, then we see a sell-off. Now, what happens if we break above that trend line? Guys, I'll be taking the back seat. I'll be waiting for price to come and at least take out this high here. I'm waiting for price to come and at least take out this high here. I can be that patient. That's me for you. I want to trade and be able to go and sleep and be able to have absolute confidence in my trade. I don't want to place trade and be panicking. I hate that feeling. In fact, I'm way above that feeling right now. I used to have that feeling when I was a young trader, but not anymore. All right. So that is why I know I should be waiting for price to come and create a new higher high. I mean, because if you look, price has been creating lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower low, right? So if I'm going to start buying, then price has to come and create a new higher high here. All right, come and create a new higher high, then retest here and continue pushing higher. I hope you get the point. So I'm only going to be a buyer when we break and create a new higher high on this 4-hour time frame here. All right, but before that happens, this is where I'm expecting a pullback into. I'm expecting a pullback into this trend line. If I go to the 1 hour, we'll be able to zoom in properly on that trend line. So I'll be expecting a pullback into this trend line, then for another sell-off again that will hopefully take out this weekly trend line here below and keep pushing price lower. So there you have it, guys. That's all I have to show you this week on this particular session. During the week, we are going to come back on our on the YouTube live to reanalyze what is happening at that particular point in time in the market. And if you want to take your trading career to the next level, you know the drill, guys. Our mentorship program can help you achieve that. Just visit www.letstrade10x.com. Link is also in the description of this video below. And if you are also not interested, it is totally fine. So just make sure to like this video and subscribe to this our amazing channel. Thanks for staying to the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have a successful trading week, guys. Bye.